The film documentary Super Size Me only cost $66,000 to make, but it would have only cost him a pack of 6 nuggets to make this film in general, which in Brandon's world technically would cost you about $15 for a 6-piece nuggets nowadays. But this project could have been simply done by just putting nuggets on the street, allow a dog to come up and demonstrate that this is not even good for human consumption, that he would lift his leg and take a friggin' leap on the 6-piece nuggets. That's $15, man!
Wow, now that is one smart puppy, and if your dog won't eat it, you shouldn't either. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. My name's Luke Radowski here of WeAreChange.org, and there's a lot of absolutely crazy and wild news to get into today. As, of course, there are a lot of very concerning geopolitical updates from Russia, as, of course, it looks like the battle in Ukraine will only be expanding from now. As, of course, there's a little bit of domestic news that we will also be talking about, but, of course, the situation in Russia is a major one, and a one that will be, of course, staying with us for the foreseeable future. We're going to be talking about that, plus a lot more, all here on this independent media broadcast. If you like the shirt that I'm wearing, you can get it on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. And the clip that we played in the beginning of this broadcast was done by the extremely talented Steve Inman, whose channel we, of course, are going to be linking down in the description below. He does a lot of instant karma videos, and his videos and his WWE-style commentary is absolutely hilarious. And you guys should check him out, as I think satirical comedic videos are more important than ever, especially in an ever so growing, perplexing, and dangerous world. That dog, by the way, awesome dog. Almost as awesome as Atlas. Atlas, other side, please. Thank you. Other side, please. Thank you so much for your direct participation here. As the more likes you give this video, the more treats Atlas gets, as she's getting some good beef liver and not that other GMO crap that other guy tried to give this particular dog. In other undigestible news, we have the latest from Kamala Harris that, according to the Daily Mail, just embarrassed herself by clapping along and smiling to protests against her. This, as the Vice President of the United States could soon at any moment in time become the most powerful woman in the entire world, while also at the same time becoming one of the least liked individuals in the world as well. As, of course, she is the second in command to this federal government, who absolutely has everything under control, as recently a California man was seen committing an act of cannibalism. This as the borders remain wide open and the federal government keeps fighting every step of the way to allow random people to walk into this country. And if they're not walking, they're taking your tax dollars and literally flying people in illegally into the United States, which of course raises some serious issues and concerns, especially when it comes to not just border security, but to the security of the entire United States, as of course many prominent government officials are warning about nefarious individuals getting into the United States without any kind of documentation and committing horrible actions similar to which we just recently saw in Moscow, Russia. But hey, that's a lot more important than thinking you're going to sound like you're a racist, right, guys? Yeah. Don't worry, the federal government has their priorities straight, as of course they're going after their political opponents, as the former president of the United States faces hundreds of millions of dollars of fines, ongoing court trials and proceedings, which of course is eliminating his ability to run for the presidency. And in other news, there's individuals that are literally trying to take money away from churches while demanding $15 billion in reparations because of an old practice of slavery that, of course, isn't even linked and connected to the majority of the people still here in the United States right now, and still somehow will be discussed as a serious issue and topic of discussion that probably will be taken very seriously, and there probably will be taken steps taking your money away to finance their larger delusions. And hey, if you have a choice of spending your money or having it taxed and taken away from you, I would spend it. And one of the great things that you could spend money on are educational resources that I think maybe you could even write off as a tax expense. As of course, we provide you a lot of incredible information all on LukeUnfiltered.com. 3 master classes, a forum to talk to other like-minded members and students, in real life meetups, contests, giveaways, tickets that you guys get for free just for becoming members, and now an in real life hike touching of the grass moment that will be taking place here in Southern Florida in about 3 weeks from now that members of LukeUnfiltered.com get to participate in. Get to meet some really cool people. Last time we did this, 50 plus people came out. It was awesome. This time we're doing it in a huge, beautiful, incredible piece of nature that we're going to be walking in and actually getting some physical exercise in. And again, that's one of the many perks available for members of LukeUnfiltered.com. As you get 10 plus years of videos, the last video that we released was a really funny, really incredible one highlighting a lot of just workout routines of individuals like Ian Crossland. Lots of good motivational stuff about becoming the healthiest, best, strongest version of yourself, all on LukeUnfiltered.com. So if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? It's quick, it's easy, it's simple. You click the link right now in the description. You go there, you click here, join for just $8 a month or $15 or $99, whatever your budget allows. You put in your information and I will see you there right after this broadcast. And again, really awesome people are a part of this quasi-secret, not so secret society. Be one of them right now. And I'll see you there right after this video. This says, of course, we still have the major event that unfolded in Moscow, Russia, that, of course, we have to talk about as now the official number of people who have lost their lives at the musical concert in Moscow is 133. This as the Russian government has announced that they have captured all 4 of the gunmen associated with this crime, as of course they are now being harshly interrogated and allegedly singing like birds. This says the UAE decided to show their support and solidarity with Russia, with tributes to, of course, Russia, as of course even the United States and NATO issued a rare message of solidarity with Russia. This has some Russian government-connected accounts and Russian media organizations have been saying that, quote, partners and geopolitical rivals alike have joined the chorus of expressing horror in the wake of the Crocus City Hall attacks. This says still a lot of people are on edge all over the Western world, especially in Russia, where recently in St. Petersburg there was a bomb threat called in, as a lot of people are on high alert, and they should be, especially with the larger geopolitical tensions now that are at an all-time high between Russia and the West. This has Russia also decided to launch a major offensive against Ukraine through airstrikes just hours ago, as the Russian government fired many cruise missiles over NATO territory over Poland in order to launch strikes inside of Kiev. This as Poland is now demanding an explanation to why Russia was flying missiles over its airspace and territory during their attack on Ukraine. This as Polish air defense and fighter jets were scrambled during this key moment and incident that, of course, had a lot of people worried that this conflict could potentially be expanding from here. Now, with Russia launching this major airstrike on Ukraine, it's also important to note here that Ukraine also responded with an airstrike specifically on Russia, blowing up one of their warships, bombing the Black Sea naval port of Sevastopol, which many people believe this entire conflict is really all about. This as we are hearing reports of 2 major Russian warships being hit and destroyed by the Ukrainians. This as the conflict is only going to be probably growing and expanding from here, as the extent to the damage done in Ukraine is still unknown here. But the fact that Polish and allied aircraft have been activated, the fact that missiles are flying over NATO territory, highlights another kind of testing of the waters by the Russians. All of this as there are still larger questions to who exactly and what forces were behind the larger attack on the innocent civilians in Moscow, Russia, as of course we have the suspects who are in custody and according to a lot of the videos that have been surfacing online are being, quote, harshly interrogated. There's incidences of literal body parts being cut off and fed to these 4 monsters that, of course, took the lives of innocent civilians without any kind of mercy. There's videos of them being electrocuted in private parts of their bodies that, again, we cannot mention here on this family-friendly broadcast, as we have new video of them being put into the office of the investigation committee that now will be looking into this event, as Russian Spetsnaz and special military forces were also granted immunity from the, quote, enhanced interrogation that they were committing against 4 of these monsters. And whether or not we should take the testimony of these men who are being, of course, brutally and physically hurt is something that, of course, a lot of people are raising serious issues and concerns about, as Vladimir Putin is hinting that it was essentially the CIA that helped, quote, Ukraine carry out this larger attack on the civilians of Moscow. This as Volodymyr Zelensky and the Ukrainian government are hitting back against these allegations and claims being made against them, saying that, of course, they have no responsibility here and they are not to blame, as Zelensky took to social media to call the president of Russia a coward and expanding on how Ukraine is not involved here at all, as, of course, even members of the Central Intelligence Agency are coming out and saying that Putin putting blame on Ukraine for the Moscow attacks is, quote, nonsense, issuing an official statement after, of course, a lot of people were pointing fingers at them. As it's important to note here that official accounts of ISIL and ISIS have taken credit for the attacks, organizations that have links to the CIA. As, of course, the LA Times in 2016 wrote a very interesting article highlighting how in Syria, armed militias armed by the Pentagon were fighting those armed by the CIA, as a lot of the infrastructure, the tax dollars, and also the premise for the start of ISIS was created because of direct U.S. government involvement in the Iraqi government. It also is important to note that a lot of the arms used by ISIS, a lot of the organization that, of course, was built up on the money that was introduced by the intelligence agencies, wouldn't have never been there if it wasn't for the CIA fomenting, creating, and also weaponizing and using ISIS to go after America's geopolitical opponent in the region, and that, of course, is Bashar al-Assad. As, of course, the Sunni larger proxy war financed by Turkey, Israel, Saudi Arabia, and the United States against the mainly Iranian-influenced Shia forces that were fighting alongside the Russians and the Syrian government created another larger proxy conflict that, of course, does highlight how there are a lot of different crossover issues here happening that are important to talk about. There's a lot of people stringing a lot of different evidence together, especially significantly showing how there's documentation of individuals with ISIL flags fighting on the side of Ukraine. There's allegations that the Ukrainian government was playing a part of this and that the 4 men were trying to escape into Ukraine, as the social media account for ISIS keeps releasing videos and photos of these attackers before the attack, during the attack, as the men are saying specifically that a Telegram channel told them to do this because they would get huge sums of money. Now, who was this Telegram channel? Where did this money come from? How did they get their weaponry? As, of course, the Russian investigators are now looking for the specific weapons that these 4 monsters used. But it's also important to note here that this attack really wasn't carried out in a kind of religious martyrdom way. There wasn't any kind of sacrifice here. They didn't fight until they lost their lives. They fled here. They ran away. They almost got away, too, as they were making their way to Ukraine. Now, again, a lot of this is extrapolations, as, of course, there is still an ongoing investigation. Who was responsible? What's really going on here? I don't know, but a lot of people are automatically jumping to conclusions. There is a lot of disinformation. There is a lot of fakery. There is a lot of lies out there, including even deep fake videos that are AI generated that are trying to conclude that this was absolutely Ukraine. Was it Ukraine? Was it the intel agencies? Was it Islamic terrorists? Was it Russia even conducting a false flag on themselves in order to justify larger, grander moves in this larger geopolitical chess match that they're involved in against the West? I don't know, but the situation is not good, as, of course, Russia declared that they are officially in a state of war. And there's even Russian state media organizations saying that it's, quote, time for Russia to give the West a nuclear reminder. Yes, you heard that correctly. These are the talking points that are being reiterated on Russian state television, as there are a lot of implications to this attack on Moscow, including not just the larger escalations geopolitically, but also the destruction of cooperation between the United States and Russia that used to happen when it came to dealing with extremists and radicals that, of course, want to inflict harm and damage on innocent civilians. That cooperation isn't there anymore. And that's troubling, especially with an open, wide border here in the United States. But more importantly, also for a conflict in Ukraine that at any moment, at any time, could further escalate from here. And whether the Russians justly or unjustly conclude that it was Ukraine, it highlights major issues and problems going ahead that endanger the rest of the world. As of course, nuclear war is a real scenario. It's a real situation that could unfold at any moment, at any time. And again, what new information are we going to be finding out from here? Well, we're going to be keeping a very close eye on this story, like everyone else should. But who do you think is responsible here? Is it a false flag? Is it Ukraine? Is it actually ISIS? Is it the CIA? Who's responsible here? Let me know down in the comment section below. Let's start that conversation. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys actively signing up for LukeUnfiltered.com. And because you do, that's why I am still here. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, and that's why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.